candles in here. And I'm like, okay, I don't know all of the little esoteric rules in Vatican City, so...
Bro, every time. Hi, this is Nino with the Boise Hive podcast. I am in the studio today with Alex Gambo, who is my engineer, graphic designer, and co-executive producer. Can you say hi, Alex?
Yep, hey.
There he is. And then I also have a special guest. I have Rob Ingram in the studio, and he is a clinical social worker who has a lot of good information for us. Rob, can you say hi?
Hello.
All right, so here we are, and as always, we'll start by highlighting the mission of the Boise Hive podcast, which is to prevent suicide within the local music community, and we do a lot of work outside of the local community too, so in no way do you have to be a musician to take advantage of all the magic that is the Hive, and there's a number of different programs and stuff that go on through our week and month. So we'll talk about those too. So on Tuesday we have life recovery from 12 to 1:30 here. Also on Tuesdays, we have our Live at the Hive rebroadcast on the radio from 3 to 4 on Tropico FM. You can find them on Instagram.com/tropico.fm. And also the last Tuesday of every month, we have a musicians meeting to where, any different types of musicians can get together, hang out and network, which is a great event to go to. Wednesdays, we have Sober Curious 6 to 7:30. And the last Wednesday of every month, we have open mic 6 to 8. Very eclectic vibe. We challenge you to bring us an act that we've never seen before, whether it is spoken word or poetry or death metal, or you play a harp or a flute or whatever it is. Come down here, show us what you got. We'll get you on stage. We'd love to have you. So that's kind of the stuff that on Saturdays, we have our Live at the Hive, which is kind of like our flagship, to where we have a band or sometimes a few bands that play here on Saturdays. We broadcast it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And it's a good production. You get to see, a live band. The sound quality here is absolutely fabulous. But even if you don't get a chance to go and see it, I recommend checking out the online broadcast. It is very awesome production with intros and transitions and just high video quality and high audio quality. It's very worth it to take a look at it. And again, it's also being rebroadcasted through radio again on Tuesdays 3 to 4 on Tropico FM. So we'll start off with our first band feature of the day. Today we have Bryce Evans, and this song is called Hurricanes. You can find him on Linktree/Bryce Evans Music.
But the pain I feel inside is so tough. Locking up my dreams in nightclubs. I just wanna be myself, but the world won't let me be. So I'm screaming, hey, help me out. It seems to be a whisper, it might be a shout. Hey, help me out.
All right, once again, that was Bryce Evans. You can find all of his music on linktree.com/Bryce Evans Music. So now we are going to bring Rob Ingram back into the show to talk more about what he does. But I'd like to start by at least kind of defining what a clinical social worker is, or a mental health clinician. So what I have is a mental health clinician provides psychotherapeutic and rehabilitation services for patients with mental health problems. They also manage the treatment of clients and help them obtain stable physical health. I'm sticking to it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But Rob is going to now elaborate on this and make this much more digestible for everyone. So, Rob, let's bring you to the show. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
All right, and a quick story on Rob. My wife owns a local earring business, and she's in a store downtown, and Rob is also in that store. And when we were getting trained to work there, because it's kind of um, a collaboration of a bunch of different artists, and like depending on your situation, you have to kind of like work the counter there. So he was showing me how to do the register and all this stuff. And very soon after you meet Rob, you'll find out what he does, and he'll tell you, and he'll talk all about it. And he loves talking about this stuff, so it's going to be great. But his company is called Ting Creations. It's lamp work, and I'm sure he can elaborate a little bit on this. But it's a lot of different glass work where people collect this stuff, and throughout the Christmas time, this stuff's flying off the shelf. But tell us a little bit about your company.
Sure. So it's called lampwork glass. So is the type of glass work that we do. So we take rods of glass and a centralized torch, and make different kind of glass creations. Right. I do both. My wife and I do it. I I'm a sculptor, so I make like little giraffes, little elephants, Pegasus, unicorns, whatever you want. And then
People
my-
collect these things. He's not lying.
It's glorious, right?
Like they come in and they're like, "Do you have any like fish? Do you have this little fish that I saw?" They show me a picture of it. It's all sold out. They hate me. It's happened. It's happened.
I love it. I love it. Then my wife does this stuff inside the glass. So, right, we learned from two different people, so we have our own styles.
And what about those floating ones? Those fly off the shelf.
Yep.
Talk about those ones.
Yep.
Those are a hot item.
I love those. Yep, yep. So these are our we call them floats, right? So we have fish floats and octopus floats and shark floats and crab floats and anyway, yeah. It's just a blown glass bulb that suspends a sculpted creation.
Yeah, like in water, like in a
In
water
water,
bowl.
yeah.
They look amazing. They don't do it justice. If you want to check out some of Rob's stuff, you could always go down to Idaho Made downtown. He's got a ton of cool stuff there. And where else can they find your stuff?
So it's on Instagram at Teen Creations Glass.
All right, perfect. So let's talk a little bit more because, again, you are a clinical social worker and you have a very interesting job to where you assess people's mental health in a local emergency room. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
And can you elaborate a little bit more on what that entails?
Totally. So what we do are biopsychosocial risk assessments. So my primary gig is to meet people the worst day of their lives, right? And then I'm the one that's tasked with the idea, along with the emergency department physician, tasked with, what do you need, right? Do you need to be behind a locked door because you're not safe with yourself or with anybody else, and that's what we need to do? Or do you need to actually say out loud to somebody else who can hear you that my life sucks right now and I need to kind of get a handle on it, point me in the right direction, right?
So sometimes it could just be they need help. They need to
Totally.
talk to somebody.
They just need to say out loud to somebody else that this is total crap. Yeah.
And I'm sure that could be a very colorful experience because 100%. One of the things that you've highlighted to me is that nobody is safe from this. You'd be surprised what you see. And can you elaborate on that for us?
Totally. So I like to use the phrase that everybody comes from somewhere, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a physician, if you're a lawyer, if you're, the homeless guy on the street, the chronic alcoholic, the meth addict, like it doesn't matter. This will touch you in some way, and depending on where you come from and what kind of experiences you've had in your life, we're gonna have a really meaningful conversation, and it's behind closed doors, and close the door, close the curtain, you and me just sitting down, having it out, and magic happens.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And in our conversations that we had, you also mentioned that there is also a huge connection between trauma-related drug and alcohol abuse that you see a lot when it comes to these mental health crises that come through the emergency room.
Yep. So you can't really, it's almost like you don't even differentiate the two, right? Like when you're in crisis, right, it's either something happened to you, if you just take the kind of the thing that comes to mind when you think about the emergency department is like a motor vehicle crash, right? Like that's not the kind of trauma I'm talking about, right? Kind of trauma I'm talking about is well, where do you come from, right? Did you live with an abusive parent? Have you been in an abusive relationship? Are you currently in an abusive relationship?
Like, where are you now?
Right, 100%, right? And so when we're talking, we're focusing on the here here and now. Like we'll touch on the things that got you there,
Yeah.
but really we're dealing with, okay, how did you put your pants on today?
And
You know,
I would imagine, like, when I've had a mental health lapse in my situation, I didn't immediately go to the emergency room.
Sure.
I don't know why that was, but that never really came up in my experience. But I would imagine that if somebody ends up in the emergency room, that there might have been like some type of actual event that caused them to be there besides just having a low day, I would imagine.
Possibly. A lot of times they come with people, right? Because
Okay.
your people that you're around are like, oh, Nino's not having a good day.
I get it.
Get in the car, right?
It's not always them just showing up by themselves
Right.
like I'm having a bad day. Like the people that are experiencing this stuff are there a lot of the times.
100%. So you come in, you bring yourself in, right? Your family or friends bring you in. The police bring you in, right? I mean, it's just one thing to really say is that you can go to any emergency department, like it's the nearest one. That's period. You will get help, period, right? When you're in that worst day of your life, that's what you need, is the closest place to take care of me, right? And then we'll funnel you out. We'll figure out where to go from there, right? I am not special. I like to think I am, but I'm not, right? Because there are a ton of people in the community that do what I do,
Sure.
right? But it's how do you do it and how do you do it well? You give yourself that time, you have a meaningful conversation, and then you bring in all the other pieces, right? A lot of people, especially if they're brought in by police, they're not going to come out with really why they're there.
Sure.
Right? You dig in a little bit. I like to say you scratch the surface.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can have people that are well put together, but as soon as you kind of tug on that heartstring or scratch that surface a little bit, you're like, oh, there it is, right? And then you can really get somewhere really fast if you just say it out loud to the right person.
And when these people are coming in and they're having these experiences and they're sitting down and talking with you, I would take it a lot of the times it results in you suggesting therapy. But do you have people that you suggest? Do you look that up for them? Is that something that's facilitated within that conversation or that visit?
Sort of, right? So, and it depends. Again, everybody has their own practice. I'm an independently licensed clinician, so I can do whatever the hell I want to do, right? But it's so I'm going to have a meaningful conversation in that moment.
Sure.
Right? Other people are just like referral.
Yeah.
Right? Which is fine. Right?
But that's going to happen in the process
It's
eventually.
going to happen eventually, yes. But I'm the weekend night guy, so most people are closed when I'm talking to folks, right?
You can't be like, drive down to this spot.
Exactly. I can't ring up my buddy and be like, hey, do you got time in your schedule, kind of thing. But that is in existence, right? You talked about 9888, right? 988, beautiful nationwide kind of program. They will get you where you need to go if you're in crisis and you just need to.
But let's be clear though, if you're having like a major mental health lapse between you and your family, you're recommending that obviously you go to the nearest emergency room.
It's life or death. When you're playing with life or death and you're like, this is not good. Somebody, if you're having thoughts about, I got a gun in the other room, I got a rope in the other room, I know where the electrolytes is, my toaster in the bathtub, like any of those things. If you're thinking of ways to end your life, you're past a certain level.
Oh yeah.
You need to get in front.
Now
of
you're
somebody.
normalizing it in your old mind, and then when you start doing that, you get that much closer, and you edge and edge and edge.
The more you sit with it, like I always tell people, like, how long did you sit with these thoughts? If it's more than I want to say if it's more than a passing thought, but that's not fair, right?
Sure.
Because if we're honest with ourselves, we all have these thoughts.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So don't fool yourself in thinking.
The second you're a kid and you find out what it is for the first time,
100%.
you have the thought. Whatever in your life experience, how would I do it? You know what I mean? Like everyone quickly has that thought.
But that scares the crap out of people, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like we don't talk about it. We don't say anything about it, right? So the moment that your teenager comes in and tells you they were thinking about killing themselves, you're carting them to the emergency department. Not always That's not always the best. You sit and talk with them, have an open conversation, right? Realize that just because you're having these thoughts doesn't mean you're imminently at risk. Doesn't mean you need to be behind a locked door.
And that's why having those conversations, and you being you, which I absolutely love, and having that time to have that conversation, I could see it steering them in a better direction, because obviously a lot of it's going to be up to them on how far they want to go down the rabbit hole and how fast they want to acquire help. And there's a lot of things that you have to do yourself in this process. But I think by having those conversations and taking those times on somebody's worst day to have those conversations, then you could leave on a better trajectory. So I think that obviously if you are having a mental health crisis, and especially if you're having any type of suicidal thoughts, then again, closest emergency room, and they'll get you on a better path than you were, for sure. And what would you like to tell somebody if they were in a mental health crisis, or if somebody was having suicidal thoughts? What would you tell to someone with the experience that you have now?
So suicide is a super complex kind of thing, because it took you so many. I tell people it took you so long to get to this point that you're actually entertaining this idea, right? But if you start to kind of have the conversation and you can dig under the thought, like any given moment of any given day, any one of us could kill ourselves. Period. End of story. There's a billion different ways to do it. What keeps you from doing that?
And I think everybody has that different trigger.
Right.
You don't know what it is, but somebody's got it. It's in there.
And it's going to come on you whether you like it or not.
Probably in the worst time too.
But you have to identify, they call them reasons for living, right? Super simple concept. What are the reasons that I stay on this earth? Is it my mom, my dad, my best friend, my dog, my job,
children,
right? Like whatever. But here's the thing: when you then take one of those things away, right? My parents died. My boyfriend broke up with me. I mean, that's going to set you. It's going to set you off, and you're going to be like, "Oh, I need somebody to help."
Someone could even look at that as now they have less to live for.
Right. Right, which gets super challenging, right? That's why you want multiple things. And if you just take the time to sit and calmly kind of walk through those, find those reasons for living, write them down. In the emergency department, we call it a reasons for living card, right? And it's a card that it's 2 business cards put together. You fold it in half, you stick it in your pocket, right? It has things like the 988 number on it and all that. But if you just the inside of it is reasons for living. Number 1, because I matter. Right? Then you write down, Coco, my dog, Amy, my best friend.
People love and depend on you and need you. That doesn't come up a lot too. And I know after my cousin took his life, I feel like the impact on the family was just immense. I mean, my family was 100%. Turned upside down. Mm-hmm. And although they're never thinking about that in that moment, mm-hmm. it's something else when you're saying find those reasons to live. You know what I mean? That you got to think about those people, because when it unfortunately does happen and someone loses that battle, the family deals with it forever. Our dynamics changed. Our Christmases have changed. Our, where we live have changed. There's so much things that happen that change when something like this happens, that, I think thinking about that in those moments and the things that you do have to live for and the people that absolutely need you in their life can help. But like you said, when you're at that, when you're on the ledge ready to jump, there's already so much stuff that's already got you to that point that it can obviously be extremely difficult to navigate.
They call it a family illness, right? Because that one person can affect, they say 6 people around that person, right? Be it mom, dad, brothers, sisters. The truly scary thing about this is, and I tell this to people all the time, if you don't care about yourself in that moment, which is how you got there,
sure,
right? Care about those people around you. Mm-hmm. Specifically, when you look at that one person, if they have people younger than them, right? This is heartbreaking, right? But like younger siblings, cousins, like whatever, somebody younger than you, right? Those people are always looking up to you, right? So if that person makes the decision to end their life, when the tough get going, the tough get out, right? That's exactly what these people under them are seeing, right? So statistically, that person is 50 50% more likely to take their life when they get to that challenging point. So that's why one of the biggest predictors of suicide completion is knowing people who have completed suicide in the past, right?
I didn't know that until my cousin did, and then I became at risk.
Sucks,
Yeah.
right? So like just if you look at it just in general, right? The highest risk population is between ages 15 and 25, right? And so in Idaho, the second leading cause of death for kids, it's actually from 10 to 44. Second leading cause of death is suicide.
Yeah, we're 9th in the nation right now,
Right.
and that's deaths per 100,000 people per suicide.
Can I
Ninth.
Sure. just tell you that is progress, because we were like number 3 20 years ago, right? Because what do we got? We got a lot of open space and we got a lot of guns, right? So
Sure.
what's the number one thing you can do to prevent suicide? You limit lethal means, right? So put a $10 trigger lock on your gun.
Yeah, don't make
right?
it easy.
Don't make it easy, right? And don't think just because we've been raised with guns and they've taken all their gun safety and they know all this and that it's bull.
That was one of the first things that my therapist said when I went to go get help is take your guns, lock them up, and give all your keys away to someone that you trust right now.
Yep.
Eventually, over time, later on, months later, we'll talk about you being able to like use that as a recreational outlet. But it was one of the first things that came up. She wanted to know what I had access to, what could potentially kill myself at the house, what I thought about, and things like that. And I did not give myself access to any of that stuff until like I found some peace. Not that I was really thinking that would be the way that I would do it, but I was happy that a professional was thorough enough to
lethal means.
immediately identify what could kill yourself at the house right now.
Yep.
You know?
So you lock away all your guns, you lock away all your medicines, and this is over the counter medicines like
Oh,
Tylenol,
acetaminophen.
and aspirin, So I've worked in the emergency department for 20 years, right? I see everybody, right? The thing that kills me is how many people think that Tylenol is not a lethal drug.
It's the leading cause of kid overdose.
It's liver failure, right? So if you want to die a painful death, it's a Tylenol overdose, right?
But it makes sense though because there's
ridiculous.
just so much easy access to it.
100%.
It's in every
You can buy
cabinet,
a
everywhere.
Costco-sized bottle of it for like $5.
Yeah, we are so strict at our house. It stays up in like a locked. It looks like a toolbox, but we lock it up because when we first started having kids, you start reading, you start doing research, and you find out that like a lot of kids are having like these acetaminophen overdoses and stuff like that. But well, Rob, this has been wonderful. Again, I'm in the studio with Rob Ingram today. He is a clinical social worker. He also is a local maker, which you can find his stuff, his brand. You can search it online, Ting Creation. I'm sorry, what was your Instagram one more time?
It's at Teen Creation Glass.
Okay, perfect. So again, Rob, thank you so much. Again, just to kind of highlight some of the things, the contact that we have at the Hive, you can reach us at boisehive.org. We also have a YouTube channel. You can search Boise Hive. Our telephone number is 208-344-4994. We also have a Spotify channel that you can search now that highlights some of the music that gets recorded here. And again, we tell this every show. If you are suicidal, if you are experiencing a crisis, you can always call or text 988. They're there to help you. This is Nino with Alex and Rob on the Boise Hive podcast signing off. Let's go!
All right, and playing us out today, we got a feature from the band Moon Owl Mages. The song is called Pressure. Here we go.